Call this Village of Greenhills Council meeting to order for April 25th, 2023. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Halter? Here. Ms. Walther? Here. Mr. Lee?
Here.
Ms. Hudson?
Here.
Ms. Osmanoglu?
Here.
Thank you.
And I'm here.
No, Thank you.
Have a prayer by Maria Walter.
Lord, we ask you to send your spirit of servanthood upon all of us gathered this evening to do your work for the benefit of all of our community. We ask you to bless our elected and appointed officials so they may deliberate with wisdom and act with courage. Bless the members of our community who come here to speak before council so they state their cause with honesty and humility. Lord, we ask you to bless us all, that everything we do here tonight will move you to welcome us one day in your kingdom. Lord, teach us to be generous so we may understand other points of view. Lord, please protection to all our men and women in uniform so they would come home whole, body and soul and mind. And please, I pray you to all keep us together in one nation under God, with liberty and with justice for all of us. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Flag of the United States of America,
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we have the minutes, previous council meeting of March 28th, and the council retreat of April 15th. If there are no corrections, minutes will stand approved. All right, so we have public presentations and a slight change in the agenda. So first one, I want to call Leah Hassert up. And the chief has something here he wants to do. Leah, excuse me, not Lisa.
We hope you'll excuse our facts, but we have orders from Waycross. So that's what we do. Standing to my left is Leah Hasser, and she was nominated by our former finance director for a Citizens Appreciation Award, which after I reviewed the facts and what Leah has done over the years, we much agreed with and collaborated with the municipal manager and the mayor, and so it has come to our Citizens Appreciation Award. So to Leah, we say this: as the close of the school year approaches, the Greenhills Police Department would like to recognize your work in constantly ensuring the safety of the students of the South Campus. You routinely direct bus and car traffic in and out efficiently. In addition, you wish everyone a great day and interact with both authority and kindness to your student and companion pedestrians. These actions provide a sense of what you bring to your work on a daily basis. Your presence ensures that traffic flows efficiently. At your direction, cars must adhere to the right turn only sign. Students can safely cross both the school driveway and Farragut Road, and traffic is stopped from blocking the intersection. This ensures smooth and safe traffic flow and points to your indispensable value. You provide an essential service in an exemplary manner. Your presence reinforces the continuing need for traffic and crossing assistance at the school entrance. Because of your actions, our children are safe. The men and women of the Greenhills Police Department and the officials of our village are grateful for and acknowledge your contributions to the department and to our community. We are honored to acknowledge your accomplishments, certify our appreciation, and wish you well in your future endeavors. So on behalf of my office, the Office of the Municipal Manager, and the Office of the Mayor, we thank you and proudly present you with this Citizens Appreciation Award. Congratulations.
Thank you.
You do a great job.
Yeah.
She really does.
Oh,
I found a mug that says, "Have a great day."
Okay, next up, Jennifer Weicker from the Greenhills Library.
Hello again. Thank you so much for giving me a few minutes to keep you updated of all the fun things that we have going on at the Greenhills Library. Believe it or not, today is actually National Library Workers' Day, but we're celebrating all week, so come on by and say hi whenever you'd like. We'd love to see everyone. We are also highlighting all of our wonderful digital resources over the next month or so, and the library offers over 150 digital resources or databases, so we have something for everybody. If you're like, what is this digital stuff? Bring your phone, bring your tablet, bring your laptop on down, and we'll be more than happy to show you what we have to offer on a schedule that's convenient for you. There are also events that are happening, then you can go to chpl.org and type in Tech Days in the program events section, and you'll find all of the places that are highlighting different resources throughout the entire county. Libby is perhaps familiar with some people. This is a large database that you can get books from, audiobooks, magazines. It has a lot to offer. Also, we are transitioning from the Overdrive app to Libby. Libby is the new one. Libby is great. If you have any questions about it, come on down. We'll help you transition because support for Overdrive will be ending within the next month or so. Canopy is actually a streaming movie and TV service that we offer. I should mention that all of these databases are free with your library card, so if you need to get started with any of them, we can look up your card number, help you get a card number, and see what's going on with your account if it's been a little while. We have streaming music and downloadable music from Freegal. We have Chilton repair manuals, if you remember the big books that used to exist. Chilton's is available online, and you can search make, model, and everything else. For whatever your repair needs are, we've got Creative Bug, where you can learn a new hobby, learn to knit, learn to watercolor. We have LinkedIn Learning, so you can develop professional skills that you can then add to your resume and all of those other wonderful advancements. We also have Homework Help Now, which is a live tutoring service using chat technology, and that's from kindergarten through college, and it's available every day of the week from 2 until 10. So you're welcome to stop by if you're having trouble with the math homework and you're like, how do they do that now? There are people who are trained with it, and they'll hook you up with them and connect your student to whatever resources they need. We also have financial resources. Weiss Financial Ratings will offer information on stocks, Medicare, Part B, C, all that fun stuff. There's also a Morningstar investment research for very in-depth. There's a lot of financial literacy work that you can find on there. So it's also some great places. These are only a few. I mentioned 150 plus. If you have something, I'm sure we can find a resource that will help you out. Also, believe it or not, Discover Summer, the summer reading program, is coming soon. It's going to be starting on June 1st, but I wanted to highlight that Miss Amy will be visiting area classrooms, so she may be telling all of the kiddos about what we've got planned and all of the fun activities that will be going on as part of that. So if they come home with a bookmark and go, sign me up, we got you. We also have our chess club, which meets on the first Tuesday of the month at 6:30 p.m., and that's for all levels of play. And our next one will be on May the 2nd, and this is our first anniversary. We've been offering chess club for a whole year, so come on down for special treats. We also have the plant swap. So if you have too many tomato plants, or you're thinning out the hostas, or you torture the house plants like I do and feel like giving them to someone who might be able to resurrect them, bring some plants. We'll be out at the gazebo at 11 a.m. on Saturday. We're also having a Star Wars bingo for kids on Thursday. May the 4th be with you at 4:30 p.m. We are having an introduction to Tai Chi on Monday at May 8th at 6:30 p.m. Space is limited for that class, so if you're interested, do sign up online or give us a call at the branch and we'll be happy to help. We're having our classic movie club on Saturday, May 20th at 11 a.m. We are having a yarn swap on the same day at 2 p.m. If you're like me and have a hoard of stuff in the basement that you're like, I'm never going to use this, I'll look at something else for a while, bring your yarn in, we'll swap it out for something different, and I'll have different ideas for things you can make with them. We're also having an Uno tournament for teens on Wednesday, May 24th at 3 p.m. And just as a reminder, of course, all libraries are closed on Monday, May 29th for the Memorial Day holiday. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
I heard the unicorn was a great success.
Miss Petunia came and it was fantastic. Miss Petunia may show up again this summer.
Okay.
Don't guarantee that, but Miss Petunia might.
Okay, moving on, we have no public hearings. Proclamation, have a couple proclamations. First one is for Arbor Day. And so whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas Arbor Day was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska, whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoils by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our cities increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our communities. And whereas trees, whenever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now, therefore, I, David Moore, the mayor of the village of Greenhills, Hamilton County, Ohio, do hereby proclaim Friday, April 28, 2023 as Arbor Day in the village of Greenhills. And I urge all residents to plant trees to gladden the hearts and promote the well-being of future generations. So everybody go out and plant a tree. And we like our trees here in Greenhills, as you can tell. I have another proclamation, and this is for one of our citizens. A volunteer is defined as a person who freely offers to undertake a task, and whereas Sherman Drew is a United States Navy veteran who served aboard the USS Ticonderoga CVA during the Vietnam War as a fearless second-class bowsman, one of his duties was to pilot the ship during wartime. Sherman Drew, a resident of Greenhills since 1971, has been a member of the Greenhills American Legion Post 530 for 19 years. As a valued member, he served as a second and third vice commander, whereas Sherman Drew is a member of the American Legion's Color Guard. He has performed all of the duties of bugler, rifleman, and assistant sergeant at arms. Whereas Sherman Drew is a member of the American Legion Squadron and serves as the chaplain. Whereas Sherman Drew served as a volunteer firefighter for the Village of Greenhills Volunteer Fire Department for many years. Whereas Sherman Drew is a dedicated, dependable, civic-minded individual, is deserving of recognition for the major contributions he's made to the country. I now, therefore, I, David Moore, Mayor of the Village of Greenhills, do hereby proclaim 25th of the month of April 2023 to be known as Sherman Drew Day in the Village of Greenhills.
Mr. Mayor, I want you to know that neighbors are here too.
Okay, yes, and Sherman's unable to be here today. And thanks, Maria, for taking care of this. Okay, moving on. Reports of municipal officials. Municipal Manager Yvonne Kovac.
Thank you, Mayor. I will start with the legislative report. We have a few items on the agenda tonight. First item is a second reading of the ordinance related to updating our code to reflect the state's code regarding fireworks. So if passed, it will go into effect in 30 days. And there will be some information on fireworks and firework etiquette in the journal that we'll submit in the Greenhills Journal for this next month. So be watching for that. The next item pertains to the local district. Jennifer? Wait for just a minute. Jennifer has to exit the room while we talk about this topic. It'll only take me a second. Ordinance number 2. It would be the first reading of this ordinance, which would establish a local historic district in the village of Greenhills. This establishment is being initiated by Village Council. And later in the agenda, there's a motion, a request for council that would formally refer it to Planning Commission for their review and recommendation. Then once council receives the recommendation from Planning Commission, council will convene a public hearing regarding this piece of legislation and will notify property owners of the public hearing. Then within 30 days following that hearing, council must take action on the designation by either approving or disapproving the application. Know that tonight's ordinance, again, you'll be doing a first reading and it will not come back on your agenda until Planning Commission until Planning Commission has given you their recommendation and we've gone through that process. Okay, did I say that right? Thank you.
You got it.
Okay, she can come back in. She had to be excused from the room during the discussion because she lives within the proposed district, so she can't participate. And finally, we have a resolution that will place assessments on the tax, as a tax lien on some properties for the village having to assume the cost of remedying the violations. Okay, and I also have now, that was legislative regarding everything else that's going on here. A lot is going on. First, I think we had a great retreat, a really full agenda with a lot of good topics to be discussed. I'm really sorry there's so much inaccurate information that seems to be going around as far as what was or was not in that retreat. So my plan is to summarize it and submit that as a journal article for this next month as well. And I encourage anyone who has questions to please be in touch to be informed as to what really occurred. But anyway, I thought it was a great meeting and how about that?
Can I interject one thing? One thing that is nice is I am so glad that someone did attend the meeting. Keep in mind that our meetings are open. We do invite you to attend. You might need some patience for a longer retreat meeting, but it does help to have other eyes on what we're doing. In this case, there's one set of eyes and you get one take on what took place, and it's really helpful to have the whole community as much as possible attend, participate in what we're doing. We do invite that, even though we might not always go the direction you're hoping we go, but we do think that we value, contrary to sometimes what's being said out there, we value hearing and trying to apply and assess and try to make the best decisions we can for the residents. It's not easy. We wish there was just like one answer that's just staring you in the face, but I applaud anybody that has shown up and welcome anybody else that's willing to show up to meetings and voice their opinion. So thank you.
I just wanted to add that this was the best retreat that I ever was involved with, and I had 12 of them. So this one was very comprehensive, very well thought out, and let's just say too, the food was good.
That always helps.
Well, and I think
It was provided by the new restaurant in town, so.
Okay.
Okay, ready?
Go ahead.
Our Enfield Farragut Road project is moving along really quickly. They really got that off to a fast start, so so far no issues there. Our Arbor Day celebration is going to be moved to June 2nd. There was some rescheduling that had to go on with our program, so we need to revise the program and need to give ourselves a couple of weeks to do that. So yes, June 2nd, correct. 11 a.m. We start accepting applications for the housing improvement program starting May 1st. That's always a really popular program. It's money from the Community Development Block Grant county program. So we're looking forward to helping some residents with their improvements through that grant program. Our community garden sign-ups have started, and we're getting a good response. This, again, was one of the this was part of a meeting we had quite some time ago about the new park and what people wanted to see in that park, and community gardens was probably the top thing. So I'm glad we finally were able to get some grant money to make this a reality, and we're getting a good response and excited to see where that goes. And the first, we'll call it now the Talk in the Park instead of the Park Talk, is May 11th at 6 o'clock. And just all of our resident citizens know that that's, Chief and I are there to share information that you might not otherwise hear about. But it's also, the purpose is to hear, your comments, take your questions and your concerns and talk them out. So hopefully you will attend. And yes, we do have food there too, because that does attract people. It helps, but it's always good to see a good crowd. So please come out for that on May 11th. And, our guardrail along Winton Road. I was really pleased to hear that at first it was going to be like another 30 days. And today I got a call that it'll be within the next 7 to 10 days that they'll start putting that up. So that's really
Awesome.
good news. Yeah,
Awesome.
really good news. And the pool has been completely scraped, sandblasted, and painted. And I didn't look today to see if they're filling it, but very soon we should start seeing water going in. It looks absolutely beautiful. The pool and the slide have both been repainted. So I think that's all I have right now.
Okay, any comments or questions? All right, Law Director Jeff Forbes.
Thank you, Mayor. After hearing about how great the retreat was, I guess I would first say thank you for excusing me that day. Given the way I was feeling, I don't think anybody wanted me there, that's for sure. But I am recovered. But I also know, I understand that council was hoping or anticipating a response from me on some questions that you had received related to, I guess, some requests of additions to the small cell facility ordinance. I provided a written response, which may, or I'm not sure if that's made its way to you yet, but I'm happy to discuss that. We can go through those if you'd like. I can do it quickly now during my report, or if you want to save it for, just do it now?
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's the only other thing I have as far as my report goes. But, so yeah, my understanding was you were presented with a list, so to speak, of some requested items to add to the small cell facility ordinance. And I've gone through them one at a time, and I'll just give you sort of my quick take on each one. I preface all of this by saying everything that I'm saying here is based on Chapter 4939 of the Ohio Revised Code. That's the statute that governs your ability to regulate these facilities. And so based on that, I guess, let's just get into them. Number one request was that a qualified RF engineer would conduct an annual random test to the small cell wireless installations to certify compliance with all FCC radio frequency emission limits as they pertain to general population exposure limits. The reasonable costs of such tests would be shared with the telecom carrier. And my response to that is Revised Code Section 4939.0313K prohibits a municipality from imposing any regulations pertaining to radio frequency emissions or exposure to such emissions that are contrary to or exceed rules of the Federal Communications Commission. So, what that means is unless random testing requirements are also required by the FCC, then that would be outside of your authority to impose. The state law says you can't do anything that's contrary or in addition to the FCC regulations. I don't know the answer if FCC regulations require that, but so if they do not, that would be outside the scope of your authority.
If I could ask a question. So if it is required by another municipality, in other words, they write it in despite what they're seeing there, are they at risk then for being pursued for that? Or how does that work if you disregard that situation?
Yeah, well, the state law,
I'm just looking for the consequences.
yeah, well, I mean, certainly, I mean, the consequences are, this topic is one where the state has chosen to implement regulations over municipal corporations. This is not a time where your home rule or charter authority would allow you to deviate from state law. So I guess in general, what I would say is, in a case like this, if you implement an ordinance that exceeds your authority under the state law, then yes, you could be subject to, I mean, essentially it would be a lawsuit that would say your ordinance exceeds your authority. Right. Similarly, with number 2, the request was that FCC safety limits apply to the aggregate emissions of all co-located equipment, not just emissions from a single antenna. And again, the response to that one is the same. Response to that is the same, is that same section prohibits municipalities from imposing regulations pertaining to radio frequency emissions or exposure to such emissions that are contrary to or exceed the rules of the FCC. So again, unless that requirement is also required by the FCC, that would be outside of your authority. Number 3 says that applicants, the request is that applicants would certify that the company is subject to all local, state, and federal laws, including the Americans with Disabilities Act, and that the operation of the antennas will not jeopardize the health and well-being of any citizens. It says, I think this item was discussed in detail among council members when a question arose about an exclusion listed in the application submittal section, whether the design is counter to the health, safety, and welfare of the village. However, there has not been any amendment forthcoming to further clarify the meaning of that statement. And I guess my response to that would be, okay, there's nothing in the state law that would prohibit that kind of requirement on the application, where the applicant would certify that it's subject to all applicable local, state, and federal laws, and that the operation of the facilities will not jeopardize the health and well-being of any citizens. So there's no prohibition for that, so that's, if council desires to have that added, that's within your.
Isn't that wording already in our
it's
current?
stating what's already in place. It's stating what's already in place, correct?
I think there's already language similar to that, but, and again, I don't know exactly what the request is, but it was, I don't know that our existing thing references the Americans with Disabilities
I wasn't
Act.
reading ours, but I did know the Ohio Revised Code. Is it part of that?
Oh, the Ohio Revised Code is silent on that. It's not prohibited under the Ohio Revised Code. So if it's something you wanted to add, you could. I would say whether an applicant certifies that they are subject to local, state, and federal laws really doesn't matter. They are subject to local, state, and federal laws, whether they certify that or not.
Or whether we say it or not?
Yes. Number 4 was documentation that demonstrates the need for the small cell wireless facility to provide service primarily and essentially within the village. The response to that is that revised code section 4939.0313C specifically prohibits a municipality from requiring that an applicant justify the need for a new small cell facility, including any strategy documents, propagation maps, or telecommunication traffic studies. So that's something that's very common with respect to, I guess, what we now kind of call full-scale cell towers. You can require need studies, but the state law specifically prohibits you from doing that with small cell facilities. Number 5 says new wireless support structures shall be located a minimum of 1,000 feet apart from any other wireless support structure within the village. And response to that is that revised code section 4939.0314B does permit a municipality to require reasonable and non-discriminatory spacing requirements for the location of new wireless support structures. So that's in the state law. You are allowed to have reasonable spacing requirements, as long as the spacing requirements do not act to prohibit or have the effect of prohibiting the provision of wireless service to any location. So in order for I think what's being requested is that it be 1,000 feet. In order for that to be enforceable, it must be 1, reasonable, and 2, not have the effect of prohibiting wireless service to any location. And I believe that the current guidelines already have a spacing requirement. I don't remember. 500 feet. So you are absolutely permitted by law to have reasonable spacing requirements. You have one in place now. The only question would be increasing that to 1,000 feet. Does that still fall within the bounds of reasonableness, and would it effectively prohibit service in certain locations? And then the last one was a request that there be some type of revocation of an approved permit in the event that a change in federal or state regulations or statutes governing telecommunications render any installation unauthorized. So essentially, I think what they're getting at here is if a permit is issued and it's constructed, and then any part of the law changes, and it then becomes essentially non-conforming, they're requesting some sort of method where that approved permit would be revoked. There is a way to do that, but it's not as simple as having a provision that says if the law changes and you're non-compliant, then your permit is automatically revoked. Once a permit is issued, the holder of that permit essentially has in the law, what we would call a property right or a property interest in that permit. And you can't revoke a permit without a hearing. There has to be some sort of due process or procedural protection there. Once you're issued a permit, if something changes, we can't just take it away. We would have to structure, much like we do on a lot of other things where you have to have an appeal. There has to be an appeal process where you give them notice that says your structure no longer complies with this regulation, and they have to have what's really called a pre-deprivation hearing. Before you can take it away, they have to have the opportunity to be heard.
Is there a grandfathering in?
No, it's not so much, because that concept that we refer to as being grandfathered in, or it's what we really call a legal non-conforming use. That really only applies in the zoning setting. And by the way, the state law makes it very clear that we have no zoning authority with respect to small cell facilities. So we don't have the zoning authority, but that also means holders of that permit would not be grandfathered in. So I'm not saying it can't happen. There would have to be due process, procedural protections built into anything.
And I'm correct in saying that our current ordinance only applies to right-of-way
Correct.
property
Correct.
within the village. Have we ever received an application for a small cell facility? And we've been talking about it for how many years?
Yeah, but I don't know if that's really relevant, whether we receive one or not. It's more of a.
Well, it's
I'm saying-
just as a clarification,
It sounds-
citizens may think we've been getting hundreds of them, but,
No, I understand
yeah.
that. I understand.
but
I mean, that doesn't preclude to be as preventative as legally possible.
Okay.
So that addresses all of the points that were proposed. So if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. If, you know, if a committee wants to examine them further, and if council wants to make any future changes, you just tell me what you want to do, and we'll prepare what we can that's within your authority.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
I do want to throw out one other additional comment. On Friday, the Biden administration had some meetings for their administration for the beginning of planning for 6G wireless. And so they met with corporate officials and government and academic experts to begin developing goals and strategies for new 6G communication technology. So we can start planning for that. All right, moving on. Clerk of Council, Teresa Lawley.
Nothing tonight.
Okay. Chief of Police, Neil Furterman.
Thanks, Mayor. We don't have another meeting before our next big event, which is our open house. That will be on Saturday, May the 20th. We were really excited with how our first open house went last year. We had hundreds of people that came up, and we will have all 3 floors of this building. If anybody that is watching that has never been here, it's a pretty fascinating place. We'll show you all kinds of things you've probably never seen inside a police department. The fire department is joining with us. They'll have fire trucks, their squad, and other apparatus on display. We'll have our property room open way down in the basement, all the way up to some treats right here in this room. We'll be grilling hot dogs. We'll have other snacks. Our code enforcement officer will be here as well. And we'll have door prizes, lots of things to give away. So we hope that anyone that is interested will come see us on Saturday, May the 20th from 10 a.m. until 2 p.m. We had another event this past Saturday. We had National Prescription Drug Take-Back Day, and we received several boxes of pills that will be forwarded to the DEA for incineration. If you missed it, you really haven't missed too much, because we maintain a drug box in our lobby downstairs that is open weekdays from 7:30 in the morning until 4 o'clock, so come see us anytime. A tip for easy disposal: the bottles that prescriptions come in are pretty rough on the DEA's incinerator. We ask that you just dump those into either a Ziploc bag or a plastic grocery bag, and that helps us get those to the DEA for incineration. We're very pleased that we remain at full strength. You'll recall that at our last council meeting, Officer Dan Warman, who's seated at the back of the room, was sworn in as our newest GPD officer. He's now in the field training program and will relatively soon be out on his own, and that allows us to patrol our streets in a full staffed manner, and it's always helpful. We've been committed, as spring is here, and not that weather has much to do with it, because people drive crazy all year round, but we've been committed to partnering with our residents to keep our streets safe. We've been placing our street sign on various streets this spring to warn drivers to slow down. We just had it on Burley. It's currently over on Andover Road. We have several streets that are in mind: Handle Lane, Farragut Road, Ingram Road, and Junefield Avenue, just to name a few, that we'll be having that speed sign on. What we do with that is we don't turn it on for the first week it's there, just to get a baseline of what the speeds are. Then we do turn it on. I just forwarded the report for Burley to our manager this morning, and it's interesting to note that driver behavior is about the same on Burley with the sign on or off. So we didn't have a whole lot of speeders on Burley, so we hope that continues with some of our other streets. But we can tell you that people drive crazy not only everywhere, but right here in Greenhills, and our citations have been up. We've also had a citizen complaint or two, so if you're watching and you live in Greenhills, we're watching too, so please watch your speed. We did unfortunately have a fatal crash. We just got the report finalized this week of 2 Fairfield residents that were traveling into Greenhills, headed back to their home in Fairfield. And unfortunately, both of those residents were killed when the vehicle went off the roadway. We believe it was a medical event from the driver that caused the accident, not necessarily speed. There were no brakes applied, so we believe that it was a medical event that caused that. Within the past month, we've participated. If you notice that there is a black band across our officers' badges right now, we participated in the funeral of Springfield Township Police Officer Tim Unwin. It was a very solemn event, and we certainly hope that those don't continue. We do have some other upcoming events, as the manager mentioned. Our first Talk in the Park. Did I get that right? So you know we're not talking about the trees in the parks, but we're talking about anything that's on anyone's mind, whether it's a municipal issue or whether it's a police issue. The manager will be there, I'll be there, and officers on duty will also be there. And as she mentioned, the magic word is pizza. It'll also be there. So our first one will be on May 11th at 6 p.m. in the shelter right next to Malloy's. So we hope that folks will join us. The next event after that, we ask that you mark your calendars, is our game time with GPD. We had a great time with that last year. We invite kids of all ages, from ages 5 or so up to mid-teens. We'll be playing all kinds of board games, card games, basketball, cornhole, and I've got a couple of basketball players sitting right in the back that'll be pretty hard to beat, I think. We'll be doing our Cooking with the Cops in August, and we'll be at Harvest Fest and Light Up as well. And we do have some courses, defensive tactics, active shooter, and the Citizens Police Academy, that check our website if you want more details on those, and we're looking forward to running those. In our monthly newsletter this month, we had quite an extensive explanation of the new distracted driving law. That's now on the books and in effect, but we'll only be giving out warnings until October the 4th. And then October the 5th, that becomes a primary offense. Well, it's already a primary offense, but it will also be a pay ticket. So check our website, and there's a lot of details on there that will tell you what is included in the law and what is not. Essentially, we just ask that you turn your phones off when you drive, because you're a much safer driver without the distractions. Finally, a little story that might make you shake your head or smile, I'm not sure which, but we had an excellent arrest by Officer Blake Mayberry in April, on April 4th. It was an example of some of the things that our officers run into on the overnight shift. He clocked a driver on Winton traveling at 80 miles an hour, stopped him at Winton and Ingram. The driver had no license, and the vehicle was confirmed stolen out of Kentucky. He first said the vehicle belonged to his aunt, and who lived at an unknown address. He didn't know her address. He asked if his brother could pick up the vehicle, but he couldn't provide his brother's name or his phone number. Finally, he grasped at straws enough to ask if the vehicle could be towed to an old address where his mom lives. Well, the officer then broke the news to him that he was aware it was a stolen car. And he read him his Miranda rights, but he said, no, I want to tell you about it. He said, I've had it for a week. He stole it from a parking garage in Covington. He said he went around pulling on vehicle door handles. When he finds one unlocked, he searches for a vehicle somewhere in the vehicle. In this case, the vehicle had a key fob inside with a push to start, and so he started the vehicle. So later at the jail, Officer Mayberry asked the arrestee what he does with the stolen vehicles, since he was just charged before with the very same offense. And he says he just rides around in them. So, not in Greenhills, he didn't. So anyway, he was charged with driving under suspension, reckless driving, and receiving stolen property. And additionally, Central Warrants confirmed that he had 8 active warrants. So excellent police work by both Officer Mayberry and Sergeant Tony Patton. In terms of what we've been doing for the past month, we made 21 criminal arrests, including 5 charges for failure to appear, 3 for theft, 2 each for OVI, which is operating a vehicle under the influence and possession of drugs, 1 each for assault, criminal damaging, drug paraphernalia, endangering children, misuse of a credit card, and obstructing official business. We responded to 151 incidents, including 20 squad runs, 15 parking complaints, 9 warrants served, 9 animal complaints, 8 intrusion alarms, 7 suspicious persons, 6 thefts, 5 domestics, 4 trouble runs, and 4 checks on the well-being. We provided mutual aid to our neighboring law enforcement agencies in 9 instances. We issued 54 traffic citations, 59 warnings, and investigated 5 traffic crashes. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any comments or questions of the chief?
I have a question. On the news last night, they were talking about something called a cushion to put to slow down in the streets, and they're supposed to slow down the regular cars and not to tear the undercarriage of the ambulances and the fire department trucks or anything like that. I just heard for that the first time, and they say some of the communities are implementing those. What do you think about that?
Well, I saw the same news story, and I have a
Okay.
lot of questions. One of the questions that I had, they said that there would be a space in the middle where emergency vehicles could go through without touching the cushions. And I'm wondering what would keep a regular
The regular
car
cars
out
are
of
doing
that
yeah.
area. So I think it's something that the manager and I will look into and see whether it might have an application here. And by the way, you reminded me, if I could also mention it, that we are one of the first police agencies around here to get the vehicle steering wheel locks, and those were provided to us by the Kia Corporation. We have a Kia owner in the house that has one, and we gave out another one today to a resident. But if you have a 2015 to a 2019 Hyundai or a Kia, we have a good quantity of those that are available free of charge. We're giving those out to Greenhills residents only, so we just ask that you show us something that shows that you live here in Greenhills, in case otherwise you're well-known. We don't really require that ID. And the fact that you have a registered Hyundai or a Kia. So thank you for reminding me of that as well.
Okay, thank you, chief. And it never ceases to amaze me over the years, the people we've stopped for speeding that have either warrants out for them or driving without driving privileges or never having had a driving privilege. You know, it just boggles my mind, but
It's unbelievable, I agree.
yeah, all the time. Okay, mayor's report. I have the court receipts for the month of March. The ending bank balance is $32,566.63. Checks will be issued to the state of Ohio for $3,182.17, to Hamilton County for $114, and to the village of Greenhills, $11,966.70. And of course, that's an example of all the people speeding and the monies that they've deposited with us and to the other organization. Okay, moving on, reports of committees, intergovernmental affairs, laws and rules. Maria Walther.
We have not had a meeting. I asked the manager if we needed to announce one. We are waiting to see if we do or not. I do want to put a point of clarification. The luncheon at the retreat was excellent, but each one of us paid for the lunch.
That was going to be on my list.
Oh, no, that's on me.
Okay.
No free lunch.
No free lunch.
Right. Comes out of that big salary, good. Okay, safety, Melanie Hermes. Anybody want to report anything for Melanie? You're on her. No.
We haven't had a meeting.
Okay, Melanie has excused absence today. Okay, recreation, cable television, Rachel Hudson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We haven't met for recreation, but I did speak with Waycross today, and they just had an announcement that their registration is open now for their summer program, and also that they're going to be recording the concerts out on the green. So they just want to have any volunteers, anybody that's interested from 7th grade to retirement and on. So yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you. All right, community development, Jeff Holder.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Got a wide variety of things that I'd like to mention. First is the mentioning the community garden. We have the grant that allows us to have a space behind, we're going to have it behind the swimming pool, I believe.
Correct.
Did you, that's something we're going to try to implement this summer, correct?
Oh, right, it's underway now.
Right. So
Yes.
can you bring up any highlights or they should talk to, call the office?
Well, at this point, if anybody's interested in having one of the beds, they're going to be 4 feet by 8 feet, and I think they're about 27 inches tall to make them very accessible. And we just need their name and their information, their contact information. The next thing is we'll mail out a packet and have an organizational meeting
How many
soon.
children? How many children?
Well, we're going to start with 12, but our goal is 20.
Okay.
So we're just building them as quickly as possible. And that's about it.
So if someone's interested in the community garden, it's something that's happening soon, so reach out to the office and get more information if you need it. And then another thing is, I'm exposed to quite a few students, and it's interesting to me when I'm working with them that they'll come up and ask a question or whatever, and I said, well, have you searched that? Oh, no, I didn't think to search it. For us that didn't grow up with cell phones, and I remember taking a bus in Cleveland, Ohio, from where I was going to school to downtown to go to the library to find something that I just crossed my fingers was in there. And it was a lot of work, and now it's at their fingertips. And I guess what's coming to mind with a great resource like the library, we can't blame the current generation. They don't know what they don't know. But I just wondered if we have any kind of link to the library from our website, how we can, there's great resources there, how do we plug them into that? I don't know if that poses a problem or anything
Yeah, I wouldn't think so.
Okay. Because anything,
Seems to me, if same with the park, if somebody goes to that section, and I'll check this and click on it, it probably goes to your general website. I mean, we can look into that. See
I
if we
know
can
it's a
make any better.
small thing, but people arrive in different portals, and so any way we can help this generation realize all the things that are going on. We really love you coming to explain what's happening, and the calendar of events keeps that in the forefront, but I thought maybe a link would be helpful so that they realize. I didn't realize you had the Medicare help and that whole aspect of it. So your age range of services is immense. I realize that you have the tutoring and all the different other things going on. So from a community development standpoint, if we can foster that in any way, we want to do that. Piggybacking on that, I'm taking full advantage of liberty here. If you have a student that is interested in a creative field at all, the DAP Works show, which is the senior show at the University of Cincinnati, is open to the public Wednesday, April 26th through Friday the 28th, tomorrow through Friday, from 9 to 9. I've had a number of students that are interested in creative fields, but they're not sure what is what. It's a good way. The students display their work, the seniors display their work. You can walk from floor to floor, and you can get a good feel of what communication design or graphic design is. Understand what urban, landscape design is all about. So if you have a student, a family member, again, trying to help Greenhills families and kids, because I didn't realize what was, it was just by happenstance that I found out about a creative field and that it was a viable way, because I got a lot of questions when I went into it, like, are you going to have a job? Well, there are plenty of jobs in that, and since we're so close to the university, it's a great way to walk a student through there, and you can quickly identify if it's something you're interested in or not. You can see how viable something is for their standpoint. Let's see, I think that's good, other than I was going to mention that we purchased our meal. Thank you very much, Mayor.
Okay.
That's my report.
All right. Finance and Audit, Jack Lee.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council, at your place tonight is a copy of the general fund recap that the finance director provides us each and every month. You'll note that this is just kind of tags on to the financial report she gave at the retreat, which was much more thorough and comprehensive, yes. I was searching for the word there. The general fund revenues for the year are up. The fund balance as of the end of March, the first quarter, stands at $1,804,152.27, which is currently a healthy increase over last year. On the expense side, expenses have been held down. Staff doing a good job with that. Obviously, the comparison to the last year is a little unfair because we had extensive transfers at this point to cover some unexpected expenses at the time. But there have been no additional transfers from the general fund into other accounts at this point. Unless you have a question about the month of March receipts, that would be the end of my report.
If you want to mention what you...
Oh, yeah, I did look up, we do have a link to the Hamilton County, well, Cincinnati, the generic one. I don't know if there's a way to link directly to the Greenhills branch or not.
There is a page for the Greenhills branch that lists our hours and stuff, but if you want
Okay.
all of like research or all of the like new features and stuff, the chbl.org is
Okay.
the landing page then you can put all locations.
Great, all right, thank you.
Okay. Service and Streets, Jennifer Osmonoglu.
Thank you. Yvonne mentioned that she's going to put a kind of a review of what we discussed in the retreat, but I just wanted to mention something about parking permits. We discussed parking permits at the request of citizens that were frustrated because they don't have enough parking where they live. Particularly, we're only looking at 3 small areas of Greenhills: Chalmers Court, Ashby, and Falcon. That's it. It's in the initial stages. Nothing's even been planned yet. I think we're going to have meetings with the citizens that live in those areas. So we're not trying to make everyone's life miserable and instill rules on where you can park. This was a concern that citizens can't even park near their house to unload their groceries. So we're looking into this, and we're taking everyone's viewpoints into mind, but I just wanted to mention 3 small areas, initial stages, and this was at the request of citizens. Thank you.
Anything else?
That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. This is an opportunity for residents and non-residents to make comments solely regarding legislation that's on the current agenda. Non-residents must obtain prior permission. This is time for citizens to comment on legislation listed on the agenda for this session of council. When recognized, please come forward to the podium, give your name and address, and then state your comments. Comments will be limited to 4 minutes. All right. Unfinished business, ordinance number 2023-001 at -S, the second reading for passage, repealing section 1519.04 of the Village of Greenhills Codified Ordinances regarding possession, sale, or discharge of fireworks. Take that, Maria.
Repealing section 1519.04 of the Village of Greenhills Codified Ordinances regarding possession, sale, or discharge of fireworks. Whereas, Chapter 1519 of the Greenhills Codified Ordinances regulates various aspects of fireworks, and whereas in 2022, the Ohio General Assembly adopted comprehensive regulations related to the possession, sale, and discharge of fireworks, and whereas Section 1519.04 of the Greenhills Codified Ordinance is in conflict with the state law, and whereas it is the desire of the Village Council to make the Greenhills Codified Ordinances consistent with state law regarding the possession, sale, or discharge of fireworks in the village. Now, therefore, be it ordained by the Council of the Village of Greenhills, Ohio, members elected thereto concurring. Section 1, that Section 151904 of the Village of Green Hills Codified Ordinances is hereby repealed in its entirety. Section 2, that all other provisions of Chapter 1519 of the Village of Green Hills Codified Ordinances shall remain in full force and effect. Section 3, that this ordinance shall take effect and be enforced from and after the earliest period provided by law. Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt this ordinance.
We have a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded to adopt ordinance 2023-001-S. Any comments or questions? All right. Clerk, poll the council.
Mr. Lee?
Aye.
Ms. Hudson?
Aye.
Ms. Osmanoglu? Aye. Ms. Walker?
Aye.
Mr. Holter?
Aye.
Okay. Ordinance number 2023-001-S passes. The next thing we have is, does Jennifer need to leave for this one? She's on her way. Okay. Ordinance number 2023-002-CD, first reading, establishing a local historic district in the Village of Greenhills. Mr. Halder?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, one clarification, should it, the ordinance as printed right now is that 10, or can you see at the top of the page? It doesn't match?
Well, the big O is for ordinance.
Right.
Ordinance,
It's
it's O.
It's missing a 0 after.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, that's fine, just to clarify. Okay, ordinance number, first reading of ordinance number 2023-002 CD, establishing a local historic district in the Village of Green Hills. Whereas pursuit of ordinance number 2013-04 CD passed on 4/2/13, Village Council created an historic overlay district as part of the zoning code in the Green Hills codified ordinances. And whereas the purpose of the overlay district is to preserve and protect historic properties in the Village of Green Hills and any subsequently designated local historic landmarks, historic district or districts, contributing buildings, and historic sites. Whereas the historic overlay district establishes procedures to maintain the historic character of select local historic districts within the village. And whereas the Council of the Village of Green Hills desires to designate a local historic district pursuant to the requirements of Green Hills Codified Ordinances, Chapter 1143. Now therefore, be it ordained by the Council of Village of Green Hills, Ohio, members have elected thereto concurring, Section 1, that the area identified in the map attached is Exhibit A, and further defined by the addresses listed in Exhibit B, shall be designated as a local historic district in the Village of Green Hills. Section 3, that this ordinance shall take effect and be enforced from and after the earliest period allowed by law.
This is first reading.
First reading.
First reading.
Okay. All right.
And Mayor, if I might, just while she's out there, if you take a look at your agenda, I know that you would be moving into new business. And item number 2 under new business relates to this. And if there's no objection from council, you may want to just act on that so she doesn't come in and then have to go back out.
Yeah.
and come back in.
What do
All
you want
right,
to do?
well, yeah. I'd like to motion, Mr. Mayor, referring the designation of a local historic district to Planning Commission for recommendation.
A second.
All those in favor? Voice vote.
Aye.
Okay, good. All right.
Okay.
Motion carries. Okay. Now we have her come back.
It would have been fun to watch her come in and then go back out and then come back, but.
I know.
Okay. Just in time to do additional new business, resolution number 2023-R07-S&S, authorizing assessments on certain properties in the Village of Green Hills. Ms. Osmanoglu.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Resolution number 2023-R07-S&S, Resolution authorizing assessment on certain properties in the Village of Greenhills. Whereas the village has given proper notice to the owners of certain real property in the Village of Greenhills regarding the removal of vegetation, refuse, garbage, and/or debris from the properties listed below. And whereas the owners of said properties did not take action to remedy the violations, and therefore, the Village of Greenhills contracted to remove vegetation, refuse, garbage, and/or debris, and now seeks to collect said expenses by authorizing the placement of a lien upon the lands and collected as other taxes. Now therefore be it resolved by the Council of the Village of Greenhills, Ohio, Section 1, that the Village Council hereby certifies that the cost of such labor, together with the expenses relative thereto, be filed on the return and statement to the Hamilton County Commissioners as an assessment against the properties listed and placed as a lien against the properties by the Auditor of Hamilton County, Ohio, as follows. Parcel number 597-0020-0005-00, address 12 Gambier Circle, owner CSMA FT LLC, care of Ryan LLC, cost $1,736.68. Total, $1,736.68. Section 2, all amounts collected as a result of this resolution shall be passed into the general fund of the Village of Greenhills. Section 3, this resolution shall be effective immediately upon its passage. Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt this resolution.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any comments?
That might be a record.
That's a pretty big amount.
There's a lot of work.
A lot of refuse.
Actually, it was clearing, a lot
Oh,
of
yeah?
brush, grass, everything,
Wow.
totally overgrown.
Okay, clerk poll the council.
Mr. Holter,
Aye.
Ms. Walther,
Aye.
Ms. Osman Noglu,
Aye.
Ms. Hudson,
Aye.
Mr. Lee.
Aye.
Okay, resolution number 2023-R07-SNS passes. Okay, next item, business. Have any additional comments out of any council members? Okay, municipal calendar. We have Talk in the Park on May the 11th, and PD Open House on May the 20th. We have a work session on May, what is that, the 9th, 8th?
Be the 10th, wouldn't
The May 9th.
May
May
9th,
9th.
okay. Not too bad. Not
Yeah.
slipping for my age too much. All right. If nothing else, this is the time for citizens to comment on matters before council. When recognized, please come forward to the podium, give your name and address, and then state your comments or questions. If you have questions, the questions will be recorded and referred to the manager's office for response. This will allow time for thoughtful and thorough consideration to be given to each question. Council meetings are recorded for ease of transcriptions. Comments are limited to 4 minutes. Speakers may not yield any or all of their time to other speakers. Anybody?
Monique Mason-Halter, Greenhills resident. The first thing that I'd like to do is address some of what Jeff Forbes' response was on requests to strengthen the Greenhills small cell ordinance. A couple of the items that were requested were actually taken word for word from an existing local ordinance that's been enforced for at least 4 years, and the ordinance provided for small cell coverage in both residential and business districts, and the ordinance itself didn't stop small cell installation. I also would like to mention up front that I would be willing to meet with any of you to discuss these requests further. You really only provide 4 minutes for us to state our case.
I would extend that offer to Jeff Forbes too, because I do think that there's some things that we could discuss about this that he might find interesting. Anyway, as you all are aware, I attended the Greenhills Council retreat only for the discussion about the small cell ordinance that was already passed by council members. Other residents and I have requested that you strengthen it. We've provided information on how you have the power to strengthen it. We've referenced this at length on how other Ohio municipalities have stronger ordinances than ours. At the retreat, there was a lot of back and forth discussion about this, and I will be requesting a full transcript be sent to me. I don't remember exactly who said what, but I wrote down a few things. Other municipalities that have passed these ordinances have more residents who are lawyers than we do. The village doesn't have enough money to keep paying Jeff Forbes to keep working on our small cell ordinance. Why haven't municipalities near Greenhills not passed small cell ordinances? Some residents don't want an ordinance. I also remember that it was Dave Moore, mayor, who confirmed with his phone that there is already 5G in the village. Some of you weren't on council and may not know that on October 23rd, 2018 council meeting, Mr. Moore said that he looked forward to being able to control traffic lights and other things with 5G and having autonomous vehicles, and that he was in favor of 5G. So according to his phone, 5G is already in the village, which indicates there's no need for an additional infrastructure to be installed. In regard to 4G service, if no service gap has been identified, that suggests there would be no need to install more infrastructure for that either. More than once, Jack Lee has said at council meetings, work sessions, and probably at the retreat, that Ohio state lawmakers have passed legislation, and that was in 2018, to encourage 5G deployment. He voted against the Greenhills small cell ordinance that is in existence. He disagrees with Greenhills council members still discussing residents' requests to strengthen our ordinance. Yeah, everybody's entitled to their own opinion. In regard to the statement about Greenhills not having many lawyers, we do have at least one lawyer, and that's Councilmember Melanie Hermes. Perhaps there are others. In regard to the statement that no other municipalities near Greenhills have passed ordinances, it is my understanding that Springdale has passed one to restrict deployment in residential areas. There may be others. Again, I'd be willing to meet with any of you to discuss this further. You may also want to contact council members and zoning directors at other local municipalities that have passed these ordinances. And, pick their brain on why they decided to do this and why they feel comfortable with their decision to pass stronger ordinances than what we have here. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. All right.
Hello, my name is Evan Taylor. Oh, I see she wrote her name. Let me do that real quick. My name is Evan Taylor. I'm a resident at 16 Falcon Lane. I also have my neighbor here with me. A few of you might be familiar with my name as I have reached out to you guys via email. So first, I wanted to come just to make sure that you guys did talk about the permit parking. So I appreciate that, Jennifer. But I still would like to kind of make my point here, and I've also mentioned it to you. The more that I kind of thought about permit parking on Falcon Street, I just think that there probably could be a better solution. I don't know how permit parking will fix the current issue that we're dealing with. I can't speak for the other two streets in question, but Falcon Street is just a one-way street, and it's a cul-de-sac. And the issues that we're experiencing, as she said before, I have witnessed where my neighbors are literally, they cannot park in front of their house if they come home late, they have groceries. If there is no on-street parking at all, they are forced to park on Farragut. And so now imagine this person is carrying groceries just to get home. And most of the residents that live on the cul-de-sac are actual homeowners. Okay, so they are tax-paying citizens. But some of the residents at the top of the street are all renters. Okay, so a lot of the times the people who truly own those properties don't even live in the communities anymore. So they're not going to have a dog in the fight here to come to a council meeting to advocate for why street parking is necessary. So with that being said, if we were to go forward with permit parking, I don't think that that's going to prevent anything, because a lot of these residents, there's more than 2 people in the household. So now we're talking about 3, 4 cars to one address. And such as myself, if I'm coming home late, I shouldn't have to like fight for a parking spot. It's ridiculous. Also, whenever there's EMT, ambulance, or police officers that come down that street, they park right where that one-way passes. And so if someone like myself who sits on the cul-de-sac that has to get out, either has to honk the horn to notify someone like, hey, can you get your car, can you maneuver? It happened last week with Amazon. You know, they blocked up the parking way. I could not get by. There have been times where people who don't even live there will just literally park right there in that one way and have the blinkers on, no one's sitting in the car. So now I'm sitting there having to wait for someone to come outside. So it's kind of, the problem doesn't seem to be getting any better. I was informed by some of the residents who have been in the community a lot longer than me that I guess there used to be off-street parking right behind our backyard, but apparently that was then turned over to Great Parks because they own that property, as it was explained to me. I don't know how true that is, but it's been converted to a green space. And to be quite frank with you, it's horrible back there. They don't even come to pick up litter or trash or anything like that. So when I ride through Junefield and I'm coming past the school, I look at other properties that look just like my unit. They have ample parking, they have garages. We don't. So I just ask that you guys think a little bit further about permit parking and how that really is going to solve some of the issues for Falcon Street. That's just a one-way street with a dead end at it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right. Nothing else, no other further business. Meeting adjourned.